and welcome back to the Magical Girl Maya knitting podcast. It's been a couple of weeks since I posted a podcast, but I haven't really gotten a schedule down. I'm just sort of going by when I have things to show and when I've finished. So hopefully you guys are still doing good, still enjoying yourselves. May is a huge gift-giving holiday for us because we have a lot of birthdays and Mother's Day. American Mother's Day is in May. So I have been knitting a lot of gifts and starting a lot of projects. I don't have as many finished objects as I would like, and I certainly don't have much stash acquisition. How could I? After my last video, which was literally just like 40 minutes of stash acquisition after the DFW Fiberfest. But I digress. So why don't we start with finished objects today? My first finished object, and I know I can post about this because I don't think she watches my channel, but this is for my sister-in-law. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it is actually a Jughead hat. She loves Riverdale, and Jughead is of course her favorite character. So I found a pattern online on Etsy. I'll post the link in the description box. And it was super easy to follow. I made it in Jinx Worsted Charcoal. Sorry, I'm using natural light, so the lighting's gonna go in and out. But you can see the little crown. I didn't do the little red and white embellishments because I thought she might have something she might want to put on the hat itself to give it that look. And I didn't want to just like stick felt on there if she had a cool pin that she could use. The Yarn Hoarder podcast has been, Amber of the Yarn Hoarder podcast I should say, has been knitting a bunch of dishcloths. And my friend Tila, who went to the DFW Fiberfest with me, has been crocheting a bunch of dishcloths. And so it's been sort of inescapable for me, so I thought, what the heck, I will knit some dishcloths. So I picked up this yarn from, I want to say, Joann's or Michael's, some big box store. And it is Lily and Cream. I don't know what the colorway is called, actually. I knit on a size 9 pair of needles because I just wanted it to be done. And it actually came out smaller than I thought it would because I had been so concerned that it would turn out huge that I actually, like, made it really small comparatively. I haven't weaved in the ends, but these are really definitely our colors. And so I think this will be a great, I'll make a couple more probably, but I think these will be great for around the house. Another object without the ends woven in. This is a trend now. Sorry. I made my hippo for Mardi Gras sock. And I actually, hopefully you guys can see this, I did the Celtic rainbow sock pattern on Ravelry. It's a free Ravelry pattern, and I think I must have messed up the heel because this heel is so tiny. Like, if y'all have done this pattern and have this problem, let me know. But this heel is so small. I've been doing afterthought heels lately, and that's kind of my preferred heel. But this one, you knit it and then you go along and you knit the heel into it. And I think it's like an almost Fish Lips Kiss heel, kind of, but not really. Or maybe it's just not big enough. I don't know, but it makes the socks really tight around like the heel of the foot. Everything else is perfect. Everything else worked out wonderfully. The pattern is beautiful. I love it. I can't wait to do the next one. But yeah, the heel is a little tight on me. I probably misread it, but I think that for the next one, I'm definitely gonna do an afterthought or Fish Lips Kiss heel. But, so aside from weaving in the ends on this one, I'm done. I'm knitting that out of my Lolo Did It Hippo for Mardi Gras colorway, which is beautiful. Has all the Mardi Gras colors, so I'm gonna make these. I'm gonna wear them in New Orleans when we go later this year. I'm sure I mentioned, I think, that I was doing the Curious Handmade Impressionists Mystery Knit Along. I think every knitter on the face of the earth did that knit along, but everyone went a very different route than what I did because my colors are very close, they're very similar. They're all Jinx yarns. I think they're almost all her strong sock or soft sock. I'm not sure what the bases are called. I don't have the bands anymore because they're too thick for me to really keep lying around, but I finished it and I think it looks great. I don't even know, honestly. Here, I'll scoot back a little bit. I don't even know if the camera is gonna do it justice in any way, but and it's got the little picot edging. I don't know if you can see that. I'm not the best blocker. My lightest color up here at the top is called The Cake Is a Lie. Middle color, they're all jewel tones is the problem. So there's not the same kind of variance that a lot of other people have in theirs. But this one is called Part of Your World. And these are all fingering weight. And then this last one, the darkest color I used is called Guardian. And I've talked about these, I believe I talked about these in my stash acquisition. But it turned out super beautiful. I love the colors of it and I think it's beautiful. It's very like jewel toned, very cool. But this is actually going to be a Mother's Day gift for my mother-in-law. So I don't think she watches my videos and literally Mother's Day is tomorrow. So I'm not worried about her seeing it, but it turned out very beautiful. I'm hoping to take some really good pictures in the lighting because this lighting is not doing it justice. And it's so big. It's a giant crescent-shaped shawl. I'm actually worried about people being able to see how beautiful it is. And I want them to, and I want to be able to, you know, have some memories of it because it's not gonna be mine anymore. So I'm gonna make my husband help me take some pictures of the shawl itself, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, I actually hate blocking as well. I hate it. So this is the first object I really was like, okay, I really can't get away with like lightly washing this and hanging it off the edge of something. I'm gonna have to like aggressively block it so I can get all these picots blocked out. And this was also the first time I had ever made a shawl and done picot edging. So I hate picot edging. It's very beautiful, but it is not fun to knit. And mine turn out pretty stubbly, pretty small. I've looked at some other people's shawls and theirs turn out like beautifully fine pointed, and I think that's because they are better at blocking than I am, or maybe they're just much better at doing picot edging than I am, because I don't know the first thing about doing picot edging. But I was literally up till 4 in the morning finishing up this picot edging last Saturday night, because that's how wild and crazy my Saturday nights get. If you did this, let me know, because I really want to see what everyone's looks like. I've been following the FO thread, and she just said, it was like, okay, we're done with the spoilers, now just post your stuff. So I'm like looking at everyone's stuff, and so many people did very intense shifts of color. It's like light, medium, black. A lot of people. I believe one of my favorites that I've seen is actually Robin from Teeny Button Studio. In her last video, she showed it, and she had a picture of it a couple of days ago on her Instagram, and it is beautiful. She used all her own yarns, and it is stunning. Like, I almost want to go back and do it again, just so I can do it with that. But honestly, I don't know if it's because it was so big and I never made a shawl before. This was my first shawl. Maybe not the place to start. I'm not sure I will do another lengthwise crescent-shaped shawl, because this got up to almost 600 stitches at the end, and I was done. Like, I almost needed to take a break until I realized I was at the picot edging, and I was like, oh cool, I'm gonna learn something new. And then I got like halfway through the picot edging and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a couple of days and then I'm gonna come back to it. We're doing a huge like reorganization, cleaning, purging, spring cleaning basically, of our entire apartment. And so I have actually like cataloged and boxed and like packaged up, put away all of my yarn. So I had to go and get yarn out of this box, which was very inconvenient, and bring it out to show you guys. And after DFW, I really have not been buying any yarn, basically. I think I I bought one skein on local yarn shop day when I went with my friend Tila again, and she bought a bunch of stuff. She had a great time. But I bought one thing that I knew I needed, and then I went back the next weekend with my husband and we picked up some things for a project that I'm gonna talk about in a minute. Let's start with my works in progress, my whips. My first work in progress is actually kind of really long overdue. You'll remember in my first ever podcast, I talked about my roommate's bet with me and how I made him that really nice hat because the Eagles won the Super Bowl and he was super upset about it. Well, I also picked up a skein of Triumph from Lolo Did It in her plush sock base, and his birthday is actually today, I believe. I need to wish him a happy birthday. I haven't done that yet. I'm a horrible best friend / roommate. Thank you. And so he's actually out of town, so I have time to finish these, but I started making him a pair of socks because he loves socks. He loves socks. Like, I make socks because it's fun for me. He loves socks. I would love to never wear socks or shoes if I could get away with it. I'm a tiny, wild animal. He, on the other hand, loves being dapper. So I've also never knit. I'm doing a lot of things I've never done before. This is very exciting. This is an exciting time to be alive. So I'm knitting my first 2 at a time. I misjudged my first ball of yarn because I've never split a ball of yarn in this way before, ever in my life. And I was having some issues. So I'm knitting them on size 2s. And this is them. This is the Lolo Did It Triumph colorway. And I've got my little hippo on them because this fabric is actually dense enough. All my other socks have had like patterns on them, but this fabric is actually dense enough for me to put my cute little stitch marker on it. And it's really pretty. I realized last time when I was talking about calamari and the yarn I used to make him out of the Lolo box, I thought that was for Pride and Joy, which is actually all blue. I think that might have now been a earlier version of Triumph with no white in it. But the whites, I thought this would be a lot more white and red, and it's mostly blue with a little like bit of red and white. I thought it was going to be the reverse when I saw the skein. But no, the blue is working out beautifully. And of course he's very like into sports, very into Team America. And I also bought this not long before like the Olympics had started. So this has been in my stash for a while. And I figured his birthday was as good a time as any to get it done. So I'm knitting my first ever 2 at a time pair of socks. And I watched a couple of videos, but I mostly just figured it out on my own. Honestly, I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is roughly how you would start 2 socks at once and go. I'm not really using much of a pattern. They're just a boring vanilla sock, but I'm quite proud of them, and they're coming along faster than I thought. It very much feels like, not that I'm not enjoying it, but it definitely feels like obligation knitting because I'm knitting for a date in mind. Like, even with the Jughead hat, I was like, okay, I have to get this done before this date, and so blah, blah, blah. I have to go. And with the shawl, I didn't know it was gonna be a Mother's Day gift until it shaped up, and I realized that it was perfect for his mother, and that Mother's Day was coming up, and I wanted to be done with it as quickly as possible so I could still be part of like the mystery knit along. But it's more fun for me to knit a pair of socks for myself because I don't care when they come to me. I get to enjoy the whole process. I get to learn something new when I do it. I get to take my time. But when I'm worried about making something for somebody else for a birthday or Christmas or an anniversary, I just don't enjoy it as much, I think. I think it's just really stressful for me. So I'm trying to enjoy it, but mostly I'm just gonna be really happy to be done with it. And my last work in progress, which I'm sure you all probably saw this coming, honestly, because I think everybody is working on one of these, maybe just me. But I, as I mentioned, went to local yarn shop day and picked up some yarn. And I'm not using the yarn I bought for this project but I got the shawl because I bought yarn on that day, and I am making the local yarn shop shawl. And the colorway I'm using is from Cat Sandwich Fibers, and it is called Lavender by the Bay, and it literally looks like a dream. Like it's so beautiful. Hopefully you guys can see that. But it's lavender and like this, like, I don't know, maybe teal, I don't know, blue, green seafoam with all of these beautiful speckles in it. And it's just like, it's like a funfetti, beautiful pastel cake of my dreams. Like literally, this color would probably be used on a mood board to describe me by someone. I just love it, and it was so beautiful that when I got it, I was sort of like, I'm never gonna use this ever for anything until I die. It's just gonna be sitting in my stash, beautiful. And so my husband was like, no, pick something, use it, because otherwise you're gonna get really sad when you realize you haven't used it for anything yet. And I didn't know what color I could possibly pair with this, because, I mean, hello. Do you see how, ooh, this yarn is all excited to be here. I've got this little llama charm. I picked it up from Michael's. It's meant for a charm bracelet. That's not what I'm using it for, obviously. But, I mean, just this variegation and the speckling, and just, it's so beautiful. And it is so hard to pair with anything. Just anything at all. I went back to my local yarn shop, and I was like, okay, I have this. I didn't bring the skein with me because I'm an idiot and I didn't think about it. I was like, oh no, that'd be weird if I walked into a yarn shop with yarn that I was gonna use to make a project and paired it with other yarns. People don't do that. Yes, they do. Normal humans do that because they think ahead. I am not one of them. But I was worried. I was like, oh, that'd be weird if I did that. So I didn't bring it, and so I picked up these two skeins that would have been very pretty with this, but they would have been just off enough that it would have bothered me. And so my husband, who was with me at the time, went and picked up a skein for me of black. Like, it's eating the light. It's so black. I think this is, I don't know, heritage, I want to say. I put everything together and then my husband cleaned, and so now all my ball bands are missing. But yeah, it's just black fingering weight yarn. That's all it is. There's nothing special about it. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that, you know? It's so pretty and bright. And my husband is like, sweetie, it's punk rock to do like the black with the super bright colors. He's like, that's so you. Like this right here, he's like, that's so you. One half of you is super bright sunshine rainbows, and the other half of you is, you know, the part that like listens to metal. So yeah, this is going to be my local yarn shop shawl one day. I'm actually really loving knitting it because it's just repetitive enough, but just varied enough that I still feel like I'm, I don't know, learning a lot and doing a lot, and it still feels very fresh. I haven't gotten into the habit, like with my mystery knit along, where I was like, okay, I know what everything is, and now it's just like slogging through the stitches, basically. This one still feels like a process. And I haven't knitted a bunch of like garments, loads of socks, obviously, and like a couple of hats, but I haven't knitted garments. I haven't knitted a sweater, I haven't knitted shawls, I haven't knitted any of this stuff. So it's all new to me, and I'm enjoying the process right now, for now. Now we can just move on to stash enhancement, which is what you're all here for anyways, let's be real. So I honestly don't remember if I've talked about these, but since I had to go rummage in my storage bin for them, I'm assuming I didn't talk about them. Oh my god. This is so many. Also, sidebar, just a little bit of life here going on. I went out to Dallas last night and saw the band Baby Metal. Oh my god. Okay, if Baby Metal is coming to your city, I don't care if you don't listen to metal, I don't care if you don't listen to rock, I don't care if you don't go to concerts, you need to go see Baby Metal. It is the most, like, insane experience of my life. And if you don't know who Baby Metal is, A, Google them, but B, they are a Japanese metal band with 3 lead singers. I honestly don't know enough about the lore to really be talking about like what everybody does, but there seemed to be 1 main singer and then 2 like singers slash backup dancers in the music videos, but there's some drama or something about this tour, so there's only 1 of the original backup dancers and then 2 extra girls who were killing it last night. They were so good. But it's this like really like hardcore metal music and these tiny little kawaii Japanese girls singing like Japanese pop, like J-pop, on top of this like metal music background. And it is the most bizarre, joyous, insane show I've ever been to. It's one of those shows that you go to and you're like, this is why I go see music live. Like, everybody that is there is there. They're stoked to be there. It's not a lot of people just like sitting on their phones looking at Reddit or Facebook or Snapchat or whatever. Like, a couple of people were taking like videos of their favorite songs or were taking pictures and stuff, but it wasn't about recording the experience. It was about having the experience. And that's one of the most like ecstatic shows I've ever been to. It was like pure ecstasy. And there were so many super fans and so many dudes. Like, I thought this was gonna be mostly cute young girls. It was mostly dudes who were super fans. And like, these guys sat down next to us at one point and they were telling us the whole story about what was going on with the band and how many times they'd been to see them and how excited they were. And I was just like, man, I was not ready for that. I really wasn't. My husband was the one that really, really, really wanted to go. And I was like, yeah, okay, I had a really crappy long day on a crappy long week. And I was like, oh, fine, we'll go to the show. I am so glad. I'm so glad we went to that show because I would have been so sad to miss that. Like, it was so cool. So yes, if Baby Metal is coming to your city and you have any free time, go see them because it is just a freaking experience. It's an anthropological experience. As somebody who studied anthropology, it really felt like you were experiencing this like deep insight into a, you know, existing subculture, and everybody was happy for you to be there. It was so much fun. Go do it. Go see Baby Metal. Okay, done. Back to the yarn. Sorry. I knit and I listen to metal. Life is all about balance. That's why my local yarn shop Shawl has to be punk rock. There is a shop on Etsy that I have been lusting and like ogling their yarn for a really long time. And I had made so much stash enhancement at DFW that I sort of didn't feel as guilty for buying more yarn. So like a day or so after DFW, I went and bought like $200 worth of yarn. I don't know why. I'm an insane crazy person. I already can't get through all the things I bought at DFW, but whatever. And it is called Essence of Autumn. She's actually a Canadian dyer. She's got 2 cards technically. She's a Canadian dyer, and I only brought 1 of each of the things that I bought. I think I might have actually forgotten some stuff, but I bought 2 or 3 of a lot of these things. But I just loved all of her colors. Actually, this isn't even the color. Like, this is the color. It's called, I believe it's called Saffron? Yeah, Saffron. This is the color that I discovered her from on Etsy. And I just had to have it, and I knew I had to have it, and I was in love with it since like the second I saw it, basically. And so I went and I checked out her store, and she was having a sale most recently. Or not recently, like in March. I'm a liar. It was like March or April, end of March probably. And it did take a little while to get here because I think some of them were probably dyed to order. But they were just so freaking beautiful. I know I had to have them, and they're super rustic. They're very much like my style, my colors. These are colors that I see and I'm instantly inspired. Like, I love these colors, but I want to hoard these colors. I can't think of things to do with them. I see these colors and I just want to live in them. Like, I just love them. So, since I've got it in my hands, this is Saffron, and it says here it's a sport, but it's 430 yards for 113 grams. So it's sport fingering, and it's 80% wool, 20% nylon, And this feels very rough. Like, not rough, but like crunchy. It feels very woolen. I don't know if it doesn't have that whole like, ooh, next to skin softness, but I know a lot of things change when you wash them. And it's got a little, like, I don't know if you can see that, but like that little bit of green and some orange and some red. And it's just these beautiful, deep, like, I don't know, earthen tones. It's just, I love it so much. But I loved this one. I knew I had to have it. It's very toothy. I would definitely make like a sweater. Maybe not, I don't know actually, I probably would. Something really like hardy that would be really comfortable to wear. And then also in the same style was the first skein I was holding up. And it's called Juniper? Yeah, Juniper. And this is her woodland base. These are both on her woodland base of 80/20. It's also very, very toothy. 430 yards for 113 grams. So she doesn't do like the traditional 100 gram skeins. She does slightly over. It's probably easier that way. But I just love them. And I think I have 2 of these, if I'm remembering correctly. 2 or 3. And then maybe 2 of these. I don't know. I think these would actually be beautiful together, but I don't know what I would make with them. I'll figure it out though. And then also in her, I think this was also woodland. Yeah, also in her woodland base is called Koi Pond. And anything with the name koi or koi pond in it, I'm a freaking sucker for. But just look at these rich, beautiful colors. And it's just so like hardy. I just love it. I think I have 2 of these as well. And so it's beautiful. It is very toothy. It is very like rough to the skin, but I would make anything out of this. And I'm sure it'll soften probably with a little bit of wear and tear, as most things do. And then I think the last thing I have in her woodland base is this, which I actually bought for my husband because he loves colors I would consider boring, but he loves super earthy tones. And when I saw this online, I was like, it's okay. He'll probably like it though, so I'll pick it up for him. And then it got here, and just like the complexity of a color that I thought was boring when I looked at it online blows my mind. It's got a lot of like shells and taupes, brown, gray, like it's just a little bit of like almost an aubergine. Maybe it's just my eyes with the lighting. But it is so, it's called oyster mushroom. It's so beautiful. I think I'm definitely missing some yarn. I don't know where the rest of it is. I think I got one that was called like spring and autumn or something like that. Autumn and spring. I don't know what it is. But I picked up, because those are all fingering weights. So I wanted to pick up some non-fingering weight because almost everything I own is in fingering weight. And I went to look at some of my project books and some of the projects I bought online because I buy things because they're pretty. Not because I have any concept of when I will make them or what I will make out of them, or, you know, the projects I will make. So I tend to buy a lot of things that are pretty both in projects and in yarn, and then never find the time to make them. And then realize I don't have the right yarn to make them because they all call for different, like DK or worsted or, you know, sport light, and all I have is fingering almost exclusively. So I picked up this colorway called Red Fox. It's 100% superwash merino. It says this one is also sport, but it's 256 yards for 113 grams. So I would say that's more of a DK personally, but I don't dye it, so I don't know. It's not my business. But I thought it was very, I don't know, it was kind of outside my wheelhouse. I don't have a lot that's like browns and grays and blacks and, you know, this like little bit of cream right there. But I just thought it was really pretty. I don't know what I'm going to make out of it. I only bought one skein of it, of course, because that's how I roll. But I just thought it was so beautiful. And then this one I knew I wasn't going to pass up under any circumstances. It is called On Wings of Butterflies, and it's in her prairie worsted. 100% superwash merino, 113 grams for 210 yards. And oh my god, how beautiful is that? Just that skein of yarn. Just look at how beautiful that is. Are y'all seeing these like greens and blues? Is it doing it justice? It's so pretty. I knew I had to have that one for me, like personally. I think I'll make a hat out of it maybe. I don't know. No, I won't make a stuffed animal out of that. I'll make a hat. And then I bought like 2 or 3 skeins of this yarn. And it's in her willow base, which is 60% merino, 20% alpaca, 20% silk, soft as a dream. And it is called Hibiscus Tea. And it's a DK weight. I don't own a lot of pink, really. I mean, it's not usually a color that I gravitate towards. But when I saw this, I knew I had to have it. It was so just beautiful, like fascinatingly beautiful. And so I grabbed like, I think 2 or 3 skeins, and I am making a sweater out of this. I'm going to live in it when it gets cold. It's hot in Texas because it's always hot in Texas, but one day I will go somewhere cold and I will be happy that I made a sweater out of it. But I actually caused a bunch of trouble because I was trying to add some things to my cart, so I don't really know how like the cancellation policy works on Etsy. So I tried to cancel my order so I could add more things to my cart, and it made like, it was a whole huge mess. I was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to cancel my order. I'll order other things later, ignore me. Just send me what I already ordered. And she was so sweet about it. I really appreciate how forgiving she was of my complete idiocy. But yeah, everything I got there I really enjoyed. It's beautiful and I highly recommend it. I am making this, the sweatshirt sweater by Pearl Soho. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I am making a version both for myself and a version for my husband. And so I asked him what he wanted, and I showed him that, and he was like, that's great. That's what I want. Super simple, no crazy cabling, and that's upsetting for me because I'm like, yeah, let's get real nuts and add some lace and some cabling and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I want it to go from my neck down to my waist. I want it to have sleeves. I want it to be gray. And I was like, okay. So I was excited because it has a little like pouch on the tummy where you can put your hands, but that's about as wild as he's gonna get. But I think I might have convinced him that he needs to let me do a Fair Isle pattern. Not that I've ever done Fair Isle or any color work at all in my life, but I've convinced him that I need to do Fair Isle color work on the actual like pouch where he puts his hands on the pockets. Sorry, my nose itches all of a sudden. I don't know why. So he picked out a couple of colors and he's like, these are the colors I like. Would you like to guess what colors they were? They were all versions of gray. If that's what you guessed, you are correct. He loves gray and earth tones and dark colors, doesn't wear a lot of bright colors. So this is the color he chose, which actually looks kind of purple on the screen. Maybe it's just me. Hopefully it's coming out. But it is a very light, like light medium tone gray. And it's Cascade Yarns 220 Superwash Merino. I wanted something easy. I wanted, you know, I didn't want this like beautiful speckled, that's a lie. I did want beautiful speckled, wonderful, sumptuous yarn for his sweater. He wanted utilitarian yarn for his sweater. So I gave him what he wanted as long as I get to make it, because I've never knit a sweater before. And so this color number is number 66. I don't actually see like a name in any way, shape, or form. I don't think Cascade Yarns uses names. I've only ever seen colors for their colorway names. And so I bought a few balls of this. I bought about half of what it called for because he didn't want a full sweater's quantity of yarn. I do not know why. He's a very unusual individual. But he was very convinced that if I bought all the yarn at once, I would never get around to the project and I would just have 6 or 7 balls of yarn just like sitting there for him. And then he would be annoyed with me. But I loved the pattern so much that I also bought myself half a sweater's worth of Cascade Yarns. And this is number 50. And it's beautiful. I literally bought this because I saw that and I was like, those are that is Sailor Neptune blue if I have ever seen Sailor Neptune blue. And hopefully the camera is doing it justice, but it is a almost heathered, maybe light smoky teal, like a gray teal or teal with gray undertones. But it is very pretty, and I don't own a lot of things in this color, but I thought it was very beautiful. So I picked it up for myself. So that is all of my projects, and then projects I haven't made yet. So I bought 2 or 3 balls of this and like 3 or 4 balls of this. And then lastly, the only thing I have that is not knitting related, but I need to post about it so I can shame myself into doing something about it. I cross-stitched this 2 years ago, actually probably more than 2 years ago. And I have never like finished it. I just put it in a new hoop because the other hoop was way too big, but I haven't decorated the hoop. I haven't cut the fabric. I need to finish it. So I thought if I did it here, I would shame myself into finishing it. So hopefully for the next time, I will post an update on this and I will have finished it. But yeah, that is it for me today. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed my insanity, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!